A few days ago, Warner Brothers made a huge announcement regarding 4K Blu-rays, but to be honest, it has left me and many other people majorly disappointed. So in this video, I'm going to go through the announcement and let you know why I think it is a letdown. So in case you haven't heard the news, Warner Brothers is releasing a 30-film box set on September 18th. It's going to have 30 films in brilliant 4K quality, we hope. And initially, when I read the headline, this got me hugely excited because the prospect of 30 new films coming to the 4K format from Warner Brothers' massive back catalogue, it just had me, thinking of all the possibilities of things we might get. But then I started to read the description and look at the films included in the set, and my heart sank. Because this isn't 30 new films coming to the 4K format. In fact, there are only 7 of the 30 films included that are going to be new to 4K, meaning that 23 of these films in this set have already been released on a 4K Blu-ray. I won't read off all 30 films in the set here, but Warner Brothers describes them all as classics of their catalogue. And I would tend to agree for pretty much all of these. Perhaps some of the newer films are not what I would consider classics. But the 7 films that we are getting new to 4K are Cool Hand Luke, The Maltese Falcon, East of Eden, Rebel Without a Cause, Rio Bravo, Enter the Dragon, and The Exorcist. So those are 7 films that I definitely want to have in my own collection. Of those 7 films, 3 of them are actually getting separate releases in April, to be fair. Cool Hand Luke, The Maltese Falcon, and Rebel Without a Cause. So those ones I don't have too much issue with being included in this set because I'll be able to get them separately. But those other 4 films, none of those have been announced for separate releases yet. But even worse than that, Rio Bravo and East of Eden have been described as exclusive to the big 30 film set. The reason this sucks so much is that the set is going to cost £300. And it hasn't been announced in any other regions yet, but I imagine the pricing is going to be similar. In all fairness, £300 for 30 films is not too bad of a rate for 4Ks, that's £10 each. But when you're someone like myself, or perhaps other collectors watching this video, if you already own 20 of the films in the set, it becomes a lot harder to actually justify spending that much money just for a handful of films that you don't have. It just seems like such a wasted opportunity, because this should be a celebration of 100 years of Warner Brothers as a company releasing brilliant films. But when you look at this release, it kind of leaves a sour taste, because you have to ask, who is this actually for? It's unlikely to be for collectors like us, because we already have big collections and own most of these movies. It's not really for someone who is just a casual collector or new to collecting, because it's a big ask to spend this much money on something that you're just dipping your toe into. So it raises the question, why are some of these films exclusive to this big, expensive set? It's either because they are just ignorant and they don't realise what they're doing, or even worse, they know exactly what they're doing, and they know that certain collectors will be compelled to spend all of this money just to add a few of these films to their collection. Really, someone like me should be their target audience for something like this. I'm a huge collector, I spend a lot of money on buying films, and I love pretty much all of the films in this set. But that said, it is something that I just simply cannot justify spending that much money just to get a few of these films. Naturally, the consumer-friendly thing would be to have this big box set, and it's there for people if they want to buy it. But all of the new films to 4K, they should either have separate releases each, or all of those new films should have been put in a smaller box set, so that someone like myself could just buy that new set and get all of the new 4K restorations. I think especially when you look at the inclusion of The Exorcist, which is, probably the most famous horror film ever made, and it is well loved by so many people who love collecting films. To have this as an exclusive, if they don't announce a separate release of this, there is going to be absolute chaos. Because this set is releasing in September, that's a month before Halloween, and wouldn't it be great if we could all get our hands on The Exorcist in time for Halloween? There really is no guarantee when some of these films will have separate releases, because if you look at the Sony Columbia Classics sets, for example, there are some of those films that have been out for years in those sets that still have not had separate 4K releases. And some of them are very big films indeed, like Taxi Driver hasn't had a separate release yet. So if Warner Brothers follow suit in that, we might not see these films on separate releases for years and years to come. On top of all of that, it even gets worse when you start to dig into the description of this set, because it boasts having 50 hours of special features, but when you look at the list of special features for each film, absolutely none of the special features are new. So you have to imagine this tentpole release for Warner Brothers, it's a big occasion, 100 years of celebrating their company. There are no new features celebrating this. There are no new features looking back at these older films and talking about their relevance today and the legacy of these films and these filmmakers. All we get are features that we have previously had on older editions, which are nice to have, but it just would have made sense to have some extra stuff in there that we haven't already been able to experience. And on top of that, to me, the packaging looks really poor. In particular, the way that the discs are kept in the set. They're using those sleeves that you slide the discs in and out. And over time, you're going to trap dust and dirt in there, and it might end up affecting the lifespan of those discs. I mean, if you're spending £300 on a big product like this, it's a big purchase for anyone. You'd want, the best quality here. They've made the packaging look very nice. Like it looks like the presentation is very nice, but from a practical standpoint, it's a really bad packaging design for keeping your discs in good condition. And lastly, just looking at the film selection in this big set, some of them are quite odd choices, like putting Elvis in there, which is a brand new film. I'm not sure anyone is describing that film as a classic yet. And then there's strangely no inclusion of Christopher Nolan's films, where I would have said that his films, particularly on 4K format, are quite a big deal for Warner Brothers. And then there's just the missed opportunity of including more films that haven't been released on 4K. We could have got more of Stanley Kubrick's movies that aren't available on 4K yet. We could have seen them delve deeper into their archives, go back to classic Golden Age cinema, maybe some screwball comedies, because Warner Brothers are sitting on an absolute vault of 4K restorations that have already been done. All they need to do is just put a bit of work in to get them onto discs, but they have decided not to do that. Do let me know your thoughts on this news and this announcement, because I'd like to see if you're on the same page as me. I imagine you are, because a lot of people have been saying exactly the same. If you do want to pre-order this set, I'll include a purchase link in the description, but I honestly advise, don't pre-order this. If you want some more 4K news and recommendations, then just click the video on screen now. You can get some more great recommendations from myself. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.